Okay, let's get started. Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jill, and I will be one of three presenters today. We have Kevin Evans, our Deputy Director of Indiana 211, our Sherry Bowers-Duker, who has been with Indiana 211 for close to 3 years and is one of two community engagement coordinators, and myself. I am the other community engagement coordinator, and I've been with the state for just about 3 years, but with Indiana 211 for about 10 months. And so I jumped ahead here on the slide. Sorry about that, Kevin. Before we get started, I just would love for you to check out our feedback survey. We ask that you copy this link now and open that up because sometimes the session ends really quickly and you don't have a chance to grab it at the end. So I suggest opening it now or at some point during the session if you can. And as a reminder, if you plan to use today's session towards continuing education credits, then you should complete the survey and note that under the question where it asks about that so that you can keep a record of your attendance in case you ever need us to provide that record for you. Okay, so we're going to skip to the next slide because I already talked about it and go to our learning objectives today. So we've had some updates and enhancements to our resource search options and our community tools. So we're going to go over these with you today. In addition, we want to show you or give you a refresher on some of the tools that we have available to help you in your daily work with the community. We also want to tell you about some partnerships and collaborations we have developed over the last few months. And finally, tell you about National 211 Day and how Indiana 211 celebrated it with our theme for this year, which was creating community. And that's okay. So just as a reminder, there are 3 easy ways to access 211. Individuals can call 211 directly, and as long as they are in Indiana, they should it should roll directly to an Indiana 211 call navigator. But on occasion, if someone lives close to a bordering state, it may direct them to a 211 agency in the next state. So they can always dial our full toll-free number to ensure that you get a Indiana 211 navigator. If anyone prefers or would rather communicate via text, you can text a zip code 2898-211, and they will you will reach an actual person. This is not an AI thing. It's a real person that will respond. And then lastly, you can always go and visit our website at in211.org. Last year, we implemented a new online guided search, and Kevin's going to go over that with you. And we have some other new features that I think you'll find are even more user-friendly than before. And even though we have texting and online searching available, it is important to keep in mind that an individual is going to get the most comprehensive assistance by actually calling 211 and speaking with a navigator, because our community navigators are trained to ask questions to identify the exact needs a caller has and identify whether they're eligible for various resources or additional resources that the caller may have not even thought about when they called. Our next slide. And I think this is where I give it to you, Kevin.
Thank you for joining our session today, really looking at the tools that we have available to enhance your ability to find resources in your community. If you look at in211.org, it's as simple as just going to that webpage to find resources. It'll take you directly to our homepage when you first go to in211.org, and you'll see this keyword area, the select from dropdown, and select a zip code, city, or county, where you can create your own search based on the resources that are available in our database. You also have the select a service category section available, where you can create a search based on the pre-selected categories that we have available for you. For instance, we have food, shelter and housing, financial hotlines, and various other search categories that have been created. For instance, if you were to select food, underneath food, you would find things like baby food and formula, community gardening, congregate meals for seniors. But for this search, let's say that we selected food pantries, fresh food. Then it would take us to a screen where we could put in our zip code up in the top left-hand corner. And so let's say that we put in 47713. I would then click the blue search button and it would pull up a list of those resources that are closest to me. So it would pull up the food pantry, Zion Missionary Baptist Church, provided by the Evansville Emergency Food Pantry Consortium, located at 1800 South Governor Street in Evansville. And it would tell me that it's located 0.1 miles from the zip code that I entered in the search. The nice thing about our search is we also have some enhancements done to this search that allow you to be able to email or text a link directly to yourself, or if you're working with someone and you wanted to send the link to them via email or text the link directly to them, say a client you're working with, you can do that directly from this guided search. You can also save the resources that you're working with here on this guided search to a list. We say keep it, very consistent to 1 to maybe 2 or 3 resources, because it does print out those resources on full pages. But it does allow you to print also these to a list. When doing a community resource list, I'll kind of talk about another tool we have available that we have released recently, that you'll be able to do that a little more easily. So we have released print a community resource list, and you can find that by going to in211.org. You'll notice that under community engagement, there is a button that says print a community resource list. You'll very easily just select that. Then it'll pull up a page that looks like this, and you'll select either one county or various counties based on what your search parameters you would like to have. And so in this instance, let's say that we've selected just Adams County. You'll notice that when I select Adams County, in the top right corner, the search bar turns green. I'll then select the search bar, and up will populate all of the resources that Indiana 211 has in our database for Adams County. I can then, on the left-hand side, filter those resources by different categories. So if I wanted to have just basic needs resources or just mental health and substance use resources, I could select those various filters. I could also filter by zip code in Adams County if I wanted to do that. I could also just select all of the resources if I wanted to do that. I could also select just a few resources. And in this case, that's what I've done. I've selected Adams County 911, the assessor, the building department, and the commissioners. And then I've clicked the print and view resource button list, the purple button up at the top, and populates a very clean, nicely laid out resource list that I then can print and hand to an individual. The nice thing about this resource list is it does tell you kind of at the bottom that the date and the timestamp that the resource list was made and printed, because with resources, as soon as you print the resource list, a lot of times these go out of date. And so it is nice that in these cases, these resource lists do have a timestamp and a date stamp, that let the individual know when those resources were printed for them. With that, I am going to turn it over to Jill to talk about our community calendar.
Thank you. So we also have several other tools available for community agencies wanting to promote or learn more about Indiana 211. This tab links to our community events calendar, our Indiana 211 University page, our request a speaker form, and our marketing materials page, as well as a couple of other new new tools that we're working on. So today I'm going to show you a little bit more about the community calendar, just as a refresher. So the next slide, please. Our community events calendar lists free and low-cost one-time events not already listed in Indiana 211 database due to not being ongoing or repeating services. The calendar serves two purposes. One is so we can help hosting agencies spread the word about their events. And the second is to give our community navigators additional resources to provide to callers when events might meet their needs. We list events such as resource, job, and health fairs, diaper, food, and clothing distributions and pantries, things like free haircuts, immunization clinics, educational classes for parenting and other types of information. You can search the calendar in a number of different ways. You can search by event types, by a specific date, or by county. And when you click on an event that you see on the list there, you can see all of the necessary details for the event. All agencies can actually, and an agency can actually add their own events to this calendar by setting up an account. And instructions on how to do that are at the bottom of the page of our calendar on the website. And I can, well, actually, when you go into in211.org and you click on community tools and you'll get the events calendar, it'll be at the bottom of the page. And it's a quick and easy instruction on how to add an account and then be able to submit a calendar event. We do approve or decline depending on what the situation is, but we will have to approve those before they are actually posted. So if Kevin, you could go to the next slide. This is an example of what you might find if you click on one of the events on our community calendar. So here you can see it has contact information, the address of where the event is, a link to either the website for that agency or whoever's hosting it, or a Facebook link if it's something that we found on Facebook. So I wanted to give you a look at what that would look like and all the information that's in there. Next slide. And I'm going to pass it back to you, Kevin.
So 211 and 988, we always get questions about what are the differences between the two. And we just wanted to make individuals aware that there are two different numbers that people can call in instances. 211 really does maintain a database of community resources and providing information for referrals like food and clothing and shelter, financial assistance for rent and utilities, legal resources, domestic violence resources. When individuals call 988, they're getting connected to somebody who's compassionate and giving them accessible care and support from a trained crisis specialist, from individuals who are experiencing things like thoughts of suicide, mental health crisis, substance use crisis, emotional distress. And so we really wanted to let individuals know today that both of these options are available and let individuals know what situations 211 would be an appropriate resource to call, and 988 might be an appropriate resource to call to ensure that there is the whole person care for an individual. And I'm going to pass it over to Sherry, who's going to kind of go through our marketing materials and lead us through the remaining part of the presentation.
Thank you. So we have recently made some changes to our marketing materials page that we wanted to share with you all. You can access this page from the community engagement tab on our homepage. And on this page, we now have an order form where you can request some of our 211 rack cards, wallet cards, or bookmarks. And then we will mail those to you for free. And this page also has some downloadable materials like our flyer that you can print yourself if you would like, as well as some graphics and flyers that you can promote on social media or print specifically for seasonal resources, such as warming and cooling centers. Next slide, please. So here are some examples of those seasonal images that can be downloaded, and each one of these also includes the recommended text that should accompany the image if you would like to share that on social media. Next slide. So next I'm going to talk about our data dashboard or interaction dashboard. This is not a new tool, but we have made some minor changes to it. So we thought that it would be beneficial to present on this tool again. And I'll go a little more in depth on the type of data that you can get from the dashboard as well. So the dashboard can be found under the data tab on our homepage, as you see here. And under this tab, you'll also find the data requests page, which explains how to request additional data from us if you're looking for specific data that you're unable to find on the dashboard. Next slide. So after clicking on Data Dashboard from our homepage, this is the first section that you will see. The dashboard provides various data on all of the calls that we receive at 211. And as you can see here, the dashboard first displays the total calls we receive and referrals that we give, as well as some demographic data. And in another section of the dashboard, there's also data on the types of referrals that we give, which I'll get to here in a moment. But I first want to point out that the entire dashboard is interactive, so there are various ways to filter the data, such as by county or time frame, to get the specific data that you're looking for. So to look at 211 data for a specific county, you can either hover over that county on the Indiana map to see a few county-specific metrics, or you can click on a county to filter the entire dashboard to only display data for that county. So in this example, I'm hovering over Allen County. So now I can see the number of calls received each month from Allen County residents, but I can also click on Allen County on the map to see the demographics and types of needs that we are seeing from only Allen County residents. Similarly, you can click on the Filter by Agency dropdown to filter the entire dashboard to only display data for the referrals that we have given to a specific agency. So if you unselect that all that you see there and then select a specific agency, then you can see demographics of clients we have referred to that agency, as well as the types of needs we are able to make referrals to that agency for. The demographic section of the dashboard only displays 3 demographics at a time, but there are drop downs at the top that allow you to choose which 3 demographics are displayed. And those options are gender, race, ethnicity, employment status, highest level of education, and preferred language. And then for each type of demographic, you can hover over a specific category to see a few metrics specific to that category, or you can click on it to filter the entire dashboard to show data for just that demographic category. So in this example, I'm hovering over female under the gender demographic, so I can see some female specific metrics, but I could also click on that bar beside female to see the total calls in each county that come from only females and the types of referrals that we give to female callers. At the top of the dashboard, you can also change the main metric that is displayed in each section of the dashboard. So the default is the total number of calls. So that's the metric that is currently being displayed in that county map that we saw, as well as the demographics. But you can also change that to distinct callers, number of referrals, the calls per caller, referrals per caller, or referrals per call. And there are a couple reasons why these metrics vary. We do have individuals who have called 211 multiple times. So we include distinct callers so that their repeat calls are not included in that metric if that's something that someone's looking for. Additionally, our community navigators do try to provide 3 referrals for each need that a caller has, if possible. So you'll notice that the referral counts are much larger than the call and distinct caller counts. And then another filter option that you have at the top there is to change the time frame for which the data is displayed. So the default is year to date, but you can change that to last full month, last 3 months, 12 months, 24 months, or to 2023. And the dashboard does get updated weekly, but the updates include new calls and referrals from the previous week. So the data that you see will always be about 1 to 2 weeks behind real time. Here's another screenshot of the data dashboard that shows the breakdown of calls by need category, which I mentioned earlier. So you can see the number of calls for each category, as well as the percentage of calls for each type of need that went unmet. And we consider a need to be unmet if an individual calls in for a specific need and the community navigator who answers their call is unable to provide them with a referral. This happens for a variety of reasons. But the main reason is that the service the caller needs is unavailable in their area. A need is also considered to be unmet if the caller is ineligible for all resources available in their area. And then a less common reason that a need may be unmet is if the caller has exhausted existing resources, meaning that they have already been referred to all of the available resources that they are eligible for, and they are still in need of additional resources. And our community engagement team actually relies heavily on this unmet needs data to identify new agencies and services we do not already have listed in the database that might help meet some of those unmet needs. In that same section of the data dashboard, you can also hover over each category to see the breakdown of calls by more specific needs in that category. So the example here shows some of the subcategories under food and meals. So now we can see the number of calls for food pantries, SNAP applications, soup kitchens, and other types of food resources all separately. Um, and so that is just sort of a brief overview of the type of data that you can find in our data dashboard. And we hope that this is beneficial in helping you learn about trends in your community. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're exploring the dashboard and you're not finding the data that you're looking for, you can always reach out to us to see if that data is available. And then with the next slide, I'll go ahead and pass it back to Jill.
Thank you, Sherry. I wanted to mention, folks, you can enter any questions you might have in our Q&A section, and both Sherry and I are monitoring that, so we'll be happy to answer your questions. We did have a question earlier about how to access the app that Kevin went over with the print the list of resources. And that can be found under in211.org, and then click on the community engagement tab, and it will drop down and you will find that print to resource application right there. And I did put the link to that in the Q&A section of the chat. Okay, so one of the things that we've been working on this year is building our collaborations and partnerships, and also looking for people to champion Indiana 211 for us around the state. So we have worked this year with the State Library and the Indiana Library Federation and sent out a variety of materials to various libraries around the state. We have been working with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security to help formulate and refine the plans that are in place to when there's a disaster, and how we provide data to them to see where the needs are, and they'll provide data to us to determine what kinds of disasters or events might be happening, whether they're weather related or other. And so we're working with them. We're working with the Indiana Department of Health on vaccinations and health issues around the state. Then we, Sherry and I both attend a variety of monthly system of care meetings and community coalition meetings around the state. And we definitely haven't covered every one of them. So if you would like for us to join you in one of your meetings, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and send us an email. Indiana 211 is, again, looking for champions around the state to kind of speak on our behalf, because we, obviously can't be everywhere at once. So with that, we need your help. And so we are looking for individuals who have connections in their local communities, who can collaborate with our team through their roles within their agencies and organizations. Someone who might be willing to share information about resources and events in their communities, and then bring 211 marketing materials to the events that they may already be attending. And so if this is something you might be interested in, please feel free to email our team at in211info@fssa.in.gov. And then finally, we wanted to share with you National 211 Day and our theme of creating community. And I'm going to let Kevin take that.
So National 211 Day was on February 11th, and the theme for 211 Day was creating community across the state of Indiana. And we asked our team members at Indiana 211 what their why was behind 211. And that creating community theme was also created due to the fact of everything that we've kind of encompassed in this last year with the creating a community resource list, the guided search, our interaction dashboard, and all the tools that we've been creating for communities to be able to really have collaboration between Indiana 211 and those communities across the state of Indiana. And so we really wanted to harvest that theme this year. And when we asked our staff their whys, we were getting some results back from them about being able to help callers navigate through tough situations and remind them that they do not have to struggle alone, or seeking to help people from all walks of life to help take steps to improve their situation and helping others know that it's okay to ask for help, or wanting to be a part of the connections that directly promote meaningful impact from our navigators to callers to communities. Or we act as lighthouses to some of our most vulnerable populations, and that allows us to make a difference every single day. And so we hope that you're seeing that in the collaboration that we have, not only with the callers that call 211, but the collaborations that we're trying to make with agencies and communities across the state of Indiana. If you want to make contact with our community engagement team, whether that's a speaking engagement, whether that is marketing materials request or a data request, or you have some question that you need to ask them, they are available Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30. You can call them at 888-439-6357, or you can email them at in211info@fssa.in.gov. But we are going to leave the Q&A open here for a minute. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, Jill and Sherry are going to monitor that, and we'll try to answer any questions anybody has. But that is our presentation for today.
And I wanted to mention one thing. I forgot to put the slide up. On March 19th, our Indiana 211 topic will be severe weather preparedness, and what process Indiana 211 goes through and works with Indiana Department of Homeland Security in terms of what might happen if there's a tornado. But our presenter is going to be Sam Lashley, and he's with the National Weather Service. And we were fortunate enough to receive a tour of the National Weather Service facility in Indianapolis last week, and it's incredibly informative. And I know I, for one, felt so much safer knowing all of the things that they go through to determine severe weather situations. And he's going to go over preparedness and things we can do for ourselves and for our community to help make sure we're ready for those kinds of events. And we do have still about 30 minutes allotted, so please don't hesitate to ask any questions you have. They do need to be typed in the Q&A chat, though. We don't have your microphones activated to ask out loud. We have noticed that we've had an uptick in the number of requests for marketing materials, and we're thrilled about awareness increasing. I do want to mention we're running low on some of our materials, so if you send us a request, we may not be able to fill all of them right away. You might have to write back. We have a question in the chat. Somebody had mentioned they were looking forward to trying the community resource guide tool. We do have marketing materials in Spanish. All of our materials that we have are bilingual. They are English on one side and Spanish on the other. Further to that, I just want to remind everybody that if they call Indiana 211, there is a Spanish speaking option to choose from. If you need another language besides English or Spanish, the person needs to simply be able to tell the navigator what language they need help with, and they can get a translator on the phone. Somebody has asked, do we work closely with Indiana Medicaid health insurance companies? Kevin, I'm not really sure how to answer that.
So with the Indiana Medicaid health insurance companies, we have different resources in our database for those. But as far as like working directly with the Medicaid health insurance companies, I wouldn't say we're out promoting anything with those.
Somebody asked, are you aware of the website findhelp.org, and does your organization utilize this? And that's an excellent question, because when the state of Indiana took over Indiana 211 in 2020. Before that, it was run by a nonprofit, and their data and information was through findhelp.org. And we had that platform for our online guided search up until about, I want to say 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, Kevin. I'm not quite sure how long ago it's been, but we
had it up until about 6 months ago. But we weren't feeding all of our data into that platform. And now individuals can use the guided search directly at in211.org to find resource data. And so we are familiar with findhelp.org, and we did have some partnerships with them in the past, but are using the in211.org guided search that is powered by the resource data that our curators are using and updating. That is the primary search tool that we're using at this time.
Okay, and Chanel has asked, do we have materials in Creole? Indiana 211 materials, no, we do not have in Creole. I know that's a high demand language right now. We can connect, if a person calls Indiana 211, we can connect them to Haitian Creole translators to help with the call. So what happens is when they call into 211, the navigator will determine, from the caller that they need Haitian Creole, and they will get the translator on the phone, and all three stay on the call at the same time until the call is finished. The other thing I wanted to mention, if you haven't had a chance, the Indiana FSSA YouTube channel has all of our past webinars from Indiana 211 University. And I believe it's July of last year, we had our session where we had a simulated recorded call that you can listen to, so you can hear what actually goes on during a call. And you're welcome to access any of those past webinars. And this webinar will also be posted to YouTube channel probably later in the week, I would say by Friday. We do offer, again, CEUs for these calls, however, or for these webinars. However, if you go and attend only the YouTube channel and not this actual live call, that's not eligible for the CEUs. Carolina asked, how do we get access to these materials? Do they need to be printed from the website? Well, you can print some of them from the website. the best one probably would be the PDF. It's a flyer, it's two-sided, English and Spanish. You can print it full color or black and white if you choose. And that can be handed out as needed or used to email to somebody as a PDF or for signage, like in a library or something. If you would like to request additional materials, you can go to the in211.org page and click on community. I want to make sure I give you the right, what's the exact term?
Yeah,
Community.
it's community engagement, and then if you click marketing materials, that'll take you to the page that shows all of the materials that you can download on your own, but it also has the link for our order form where you can request those rack cards, book cards, and wallet cards from us.
Yes, and there's images on the page that show what each of those will look like. By far our most popular or most frequently requested item is our wallet card. I think because a lot of first responders keep them with them in case they encounter an unhoused person or someone in a situation that they might need a referral to Indiana 211. But so we're running low on those, but we plan to get more of those in stock soon.
I'll answer Bridget's question because Bridget asked,
Yes.
she has a church in her community that does a monthly free meal. How would I add that to the calendar? Bridget, if you have that as a monthly free meal, I would encourage you just to reach out to our community engagement team via email and let them know kind of where that community meal is every month to make sure we do not have that in our database. Because if it's a reoccurring monthly meal, we want to get that added into our database to make sure that for callers and on our guided search, that individuals are accessing that on a regular basis, just because it is a regularly occurring event. And our community calendar is for those one-off kind of events that are occurring at one time. So I would encourage you to reach out to our community engagement team to make sure that that is getting added into our database, to make sure that people are getting connected to that.
Thank you, Kevin. And I posted a link if it's something where you want to be considered to be added to our resource listing. I did post in the chat a link to go to that form where you would submit a form to be considered for a resource listing. Also, well, no, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Kevin, for that answer. Thank you for all these great questions, everyone. I encourage you to go to in211.org and just, surf. There's nothing you can do wrong in that regard. Just kind of see what you find. It will link you to other parts of the state FSSA webpage or the in.gov website where you can look up just about anything from information about the BMV to where to go for workforce development, which, by the way, is another agency that we are collaborating with to provide more help through 211 with job search and job readiness. If there are no more questions, oh, I think there are a couple.
Yeah, so it looks like someone said that they did not see the link you posted for our database request form. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the chat again. And just to clarify, the chat is disabled. We are able to post things in the chat for you all to see, so you should be able to see that link now. Just to clarify on that question.
Aaron, you can reach out. So Aaron asked, is the assigned curator to our account who we reach out to specifically for updates? You can reach out to your assigned curator to your account, or you can always reach out to the community engagement team to see who, if you're unsure of who your assigned curator is, or if you have something specific that you're just kind of trying to check into, you can always reach out to the community engagement team and they can always let you know that information as well. And then Anne asked, can you describe your current resource information verification process? I'm going to turn that over to Sherry to kind of describe that, but if Sherry, you can describe our current resource information verification process.
Yeah, so I assume you're asking about how an agency or how we determine whether an agency gets to be listed in our database. And so
Yes.
on our website, we do have that database request form, and I did put that link in the chat. And so an agency that is not already listed and is interested in being listed can complete that form. That way, we have all of the information about the type of agency that it is, but also the services that they offer. And then we have a guideline that we follow that describes the types of resources that we list in the database, the types that we have to kind of consider on a case by case basis. And that is available on our website as well for anyone to review. And so we use those guidelines to determine whether that agency and their services are something that we would want to list in the database. And then we provide that decision to them.
And then Mary, how do we obtain the CEU? What organizations accept this CEU?
So, if you are wanting to use these sessions towards CEUs, you want to make sure you complete that survey that we put a link in the chat for. And on the survey, you'll note that you're wanting to include it as a CEU and include your name so that we know that. And we can provide you with a certificate if you need that to show as proof. But we are approved CEU providers through the, I think it's Indiana professional licensing agency. And so if you have to get a license through them, then your CEUs from these sessions would count.
Perfect. And then Ann's asking, how do we know the information in Indiana 211 is current? I'll answer that. So we have 6 full-time resource curators. Their job is that they're assigned very specific, like a caseload of resources. Then they, based on their caseload, they're assigned out based on due date. And so they have to touch that resource at least once a year. We have a 1.6% overdue rate at Indiana 211, which if you look at the national standard, it's actually at about a 10% overdue rate is the standard. So we are actually superb when it comes to that overdue percentage. Where we are going through the accreditation process right now, and they gave us some high remarks when it came to that. And so if you have questions about whether or not your agency's information is correct, or you are outside of that 1-year cycle and your information has changed, we always encourage you to touch base with our resource curators to make sure that they're getting that most up-to-date information.
We did have one last question again about the CEU. Again, if you could please fill out that survey. There is a question asking if you need to earn a CEU by attending. Answer yes, and we can, and if need be, send you a survey. I mean, I'm sorry, a certificate.
And if there are any questions about how our data process or our database process works, or you have any questions about our verification processes or your records in general, you can also email our database team at in211database@fssa.in.gov.
And that may not know, our database is curated. We have, is it 6 full-time curators? And their job, they have a caseload and they are assigned at various agencies to make sure that they are up to date and always accurate. And as you know, that's really important because the last thing we want is to send somebody somewhere only to reach a dead end or to have a bad experience because our information was wrong. So we're constantly working to make sure that the information in our database is up to date, but we do rely on our agencies to provide us with the information when something is inaccurate.
With that, I see no more questions. I think we can close out today's Indiana 211 University. We thank you guys for all of your questions and collaboration today in the question and answer. If you have any additional questions, we encourage you to reach out to our community engagement team or our database team. And thank you for joining our session today.
Yes.